the entire story. And this is where, and this is not an easy task. It's a fairly complex task, particularly as I told that urban freight is lying in a private domain. It is not part of the government sector. It is not organized. It's morely informal. But we have done some attempts at our institute about 10, 15 years back. We have been doing rather every year 4 or 5 research thesis, PhD works, which are trying to build up this knowledge in this sector. So that, and now I'm very happy to note that even the government is now coming very forward in actually giving fillip to this sector which was neglected for long. Obviously, low carbon mobility, as is true for passenger mobility, is going to address environmental impacts. It's going to reduce. It's going to kind of reduce energy consumption because they are supposedly more efficient. It's going to be healthy and well-being, particularly for active transport. So this slide particularly is focusing more on the passenger mobility, where you build cycle tracks and you encourage walking. But I think we can draw an analogy from it and how the same concept, if we are trying to push it in terms of the freighting or the urban freight, how this is going to kind of look into. One of the very important concepts when we're talking about urban freight is what is called city logistics. Now this is a concept which came in Japan, Kitamura and their researchers almost 15-20 years back, talking about how urban freight distribution or delivery in cities can actually use the concept of what is called city logistics, which has 3 pillars. You have a modes, transport modes, so how you can use efficiently your transport modes. You have terminals or infra, so how you can develop your transport terminals, your truck terminals, your distribution warehouses. And the third part is actually the operation part, which also we teach at SPA. We probably are the only institute we dabble into talking about the scheduling, the routing of the transport vehicles. Now all the 3 actually are different elements of city logistics, and ideally we need to address all 3 of them. But nevertheless, even if you are able to address, say, the planning part of it, a certain portion of freight distribution can become more sustainable. Now, some of the global practices in sustainable urban freight, and when I'm talking about sustainable, I'm sure all of you are aware, we're talking about the economic efficiency, we're talking about the social aspect, and then third, we're talking about the environment sustainability. So you have some of the practices. There is something which is called Urban Consolidation Center, UCC, which is a very popular concept in UK and Europe, where what you do is you don't allow the truck to directly reach to the final destination. You hold the truck into a holding point, and from where the last mile deliveries are done by small vehicle. So what you're doing is you're not sending the truck directly to the establishment, you're kind of creating a kind of a hold-up area, which is actually a consolidation center. This is an extremely popular technique. Most of the UK cities are adopting. Bristol is often being referred as the landmark city for UCC. And then you have cargo cycles being practiced in Paris and Madrid and so on and so forth. It's not a new thing. We all do it here, but we just don't realize the efficiency element of it. There is something which is called lockers, Kiala points in Germany. So what they do is they don't pick up the cargo. You don't go to either the vehicle doesn't drop you the delivery at the home, or so what they do is they create these locker points at convenient locations like metro stations, like society offices and stuff, so that the last mileage which you incur in dropping each house can be optimized. So you're just trying to aggregate all these deliveries into a common space and locating them at a very vantage location so that the deliveries are minimum. There is something called nearby delivery areas. Again, this is a concept very popular in Europe. Just like in wholesale market, the truck doesn't deliver to each of the shop. So what does the truck do? You create a space where all these so-called HCVs are parked there. They get their luggage, they get their thing, and from again you take it to a non-motorized mode and deliver to each shop. So the whole idea is that you are trying to reduce the carbon footprint of heavy vehicles and rather taking them to a point which is possible, and from there you try to kind of transfer that load through sustainable modes and green modes. So, and then you have the classical, I'm sure quite a few of may be aware, the Mumbai Dabbawala lunch delivery, which often is referred as ISO 2001. You know, so obviously the dabbas are collected from the home and they're delivered to their employees at their office, and it is all through a different system wherein you can see from the image that most of the time you're using what is called hand cart, and I am told this whole business employs 5 lakh people, delivered to 5 lakh employees, and this is about 8,000 people who manage. There are supervisors and different hierarchy of people. But the interesting part is the dabbas are collected from home, they're brought to the commuter station. 96 station, these dabbas are loaded in the train and then they are offloaded at the station. Again they are taken up to a particular office and given to the employee. Then again they are collected back after the lunch hour, and again the dabba is actually given back to the home. So it's a very interesting case study of how the last mile, and the last mile here is actually the mode of transport, except a little bit of the road part, it is very sustainable. You're using trains, which is a very sustainable mode, and then the last mile is done by the hand carts kind of stuff. So this is one of the referred, it's one of the IIM Ahmedabad and all the IIMs teach this is one of the best practice of doing deliveries. Now I'm just going to run through, because we've been doing a lot of work. I just picked up something, for example, of low carbon mobility, where we attempted to study the core city of Delhi, the walled city of Delhi. So I'm just going to give you some snippets of. In 2014, we were almost attracting 5.5 lakh tons every day. I'm sure this figure is now almost close to 10 lakhs. There's some estimates which are there. 10 lakh tons come in and out of Delhi every day. And then obviously, we all know Delhi is a distributive trade city. So almost 50 to 60% what comes in again goes back to redistribution outside, within NCR and outside. And rest is consumed within Delhi in different areas. Delhi would be close to about 30 million now population. So this was some estimates. I was involved in a couple of consultancy for DDA. So we are just picking up some work from there. What are the generation rates and stuff. And this then we come to Walled City, Chandni Chowk, as we popularly called. It houses 7 major commodities: textile, auto parts, fruits and vegetables, hardware, building material, iron and steel. It's one of the largest distributive trade markets in Asia. You know what I'm talking about, the Walled City. And you will find some of the glimpses of how there is a shift of mode at the different legs of the distribution. So when you're, for example, auto parts, how the auto parts loading and unloading is happening, then it is getting transferred onto a non-motorized transport, and then finally again there is a last mile delivery into the godown, which is often head load. So you have a lot of porters involved. Now, so this is the complexity of a freight. We often consume freight going to a shop. We never imagine how that freight actually has reached to the shop. I think that is very important. And it goes to the elements of mobility, and obviously the more we use last mile as an entity, the lesser carbon footprint the city would do. So these were some examples of textile market, examples of food grains. I will, and we found that it's a very interesting fact we found. It's a very comprehensive studio we did for Walled City of Delhi. This is about 7-8 years back. We found the non-motorized transport actually account for 70% of the share of total goods movement in terms of ton kilometer. Very interesting. So suppose if they were not there, first of all the delivery would have been very difficult, and even if the delivery is done, it is at what cost? So much of energy, fuel, emission would have been wasted. So this is a small, I'm just showing some which I supervised. It's a very comprehensive, probably the only work of its kind I can claim, because having spent 30 years in the sector, I can say we don't find such studio works, and it was a very fine work which we accomplished. Now I'm just coming to, so I just take the statements of the chairman I have to wind up. So what probably would be the issues and challenges for sustainable urban freight? Logistics sprawl, as I told, if we continue to, and as Professor Shashwat said that we as planners have very great responsibility. We are not technologists, we are basically physical planners. So what are the tools of physical planner, how we can kind of control that, the logistics sprawl part of it. Can I foresee, for example in Delhi, can I foresee 20 years down the line, how much freight is going to be generated and how much of go down space I need, and then where that go down space can come, rather than just leaving it open-ended for the market forces to decide. That is very important. So we should not just leave everything to market. Market will do what they like because they have the capacity. But is that the right thing? That is important. Second is obviously increasing e-commerce. Because of paucity of time, I have not incorporated e-commerce. We've done a lot of work on that. Again, e-commerce is spreading, all of us are aware. I mean, big cities like Delhi, Bangalore, Madras, Calcutta, fantastic number of orders are ordered every day. Amazon, Flipkart, they all are expanding their businesses. And we all know now they are creating dark warehouses in neighborhoods. You have got a 10-minute drop delivery, 15-minute. They are now entering into your neighborhood area, and you don't even know your 2 houses next is actually a dark warehouse for a distributor. Now, we all are silent as planners. We don't even know. I think this is what is important. That can we rationally plan them? Is there an uploading and loading space in front of that house? What will happen to the noise which comes in the night? I think we are totally kind of not even aware. To me, that is a very important area. Obviously, we are not looking into the alternate approaches of distribution. What could be the alternate approaches? As part of one of the interesting projects which I guided with one of my students, and fortunately the DMRC official was also there, we looked into how you can use the Delhi Metro in the spare times, in the early morning and late night, to ferry parcels in that same train and distribute on the network where the destination lies. So it's a very interesting project which we did and presented a paper at the WCDR. So such kind of experiments have to be there. I always say NMP is a neglected option of mobility. We all are aware you have three depends on non-motorized transport, but there is no desirable planning because it's like an orphan. We're not looking into it. We feel chalta hai, kaise ho raha hai. I think that mindset has to undergo a change. Freight is a neglected component in city mobility plan and Delhi master plan and master plan. I mean, I have yet to see a CMP which addresses urban freight comprehensively. I think it's a time now that the master plan process preparation has to take into cognizance the requirements of the citizens in terms of consumption of freight and where such facilities have to come. Weak institutional setup almost non-existent. Let us accept it. Because the knowledge is not there, the capacity is not there. The standards, the benchmarks, the performance benchmarks are not there. I just supervised last year a performance benchmark for a wholesale market. No, such kind of empirical work has to come in, it has to be shared, then only things probably might come forward. So what is the way forward? I think we need to evolve. I think very importantly, why it is happening? Because the decision makers, the planners are probably not really been informed as to why it is important. So I always say that there is a need to evolve strategies for projecting urban freight before the decision maker. We have to say why this is important. How urban freight can bring in value addition to cities' growth and economy. I think very important because it contributes a lot to the metropolitan tax revenue. We did some estimate, almost 10%, 8 to 10% of any city's tax revenue is because of the urban freight activity. And that was the time estimate I'm telling before e-commerce. So now it would have even gone up. So it is a very valuable but neglected area. We need to kind of look into the alternate sustainable approaches. One work, I've been doing a lot of work on e-mobility as well. Incentivizing schemes for EV transition. How electric mobility can find its route into urban freight sector. And we find there are a lot of reasons. Capital cost, charging infra, the charging range, the subsidy, all those issues are there. We have done a lot of work on that. So that needs to kind of come out very strongly. I think the government is sensitive to it. It's not that government is not sensitive. It's just that the private sector it's all open market except the e-commerce player. So government can actually tell Amazon, it can tell Flipkart, you have to ensure that all your last mile delivery is electrified, and that is what these players are doing. But what happened to the rest of the market of urban trade? It's nobody's baby. I think we need to carry more empirical studies. The way probably we are doing, I'm sure SEPT is doing, Shalini is taking lead. There are a lot of other institutes which are doing, but I think we need to be more scaled up. And we need to do capacity building. Very importantly for ULP officials, policy planners, decision makers and other stakeholders. I think with this I will come to end. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sanjay. It was really very good talk. In fact, you really touched some of the issues which are very, very significant. Thank you. Now, I'll invite Mr. Jaswant Singh, Secretary General of KSS.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for inviting me. It's always a very humbling experience when you enter the Alma Mater. When you enter from the gate, nostalgia takes over. So it's almost donkey number of years, 1983 to 1985 I was there. So thank you, Professor Ashwini, for making me to attend this conference today. We always do that. We are so persistent, you can't tell him more. And now, you know, before me, two very prominent professors have spoken in the group. So it becomes always a challenge to stand even on the dais and say something after they have spoken. Now anyway, I'll do my bit. And my topic is slightly away from urban planning. Not directly I'm talking about urban planning here, because you have heard about urban planning from Professor Shashwat in the floating part, and on the mobility from Professor Sanjay Gupta, and there will be many more presentations on this theme. When we are talking about geography and politics of climate change, I just wanted to have a look at it that, when we talk about climate change, then who is responsible, how it's been happening, where it's coming from, and what is being done about it. Who has the responsibility, who has the higher responsibility, who has the, more responsibility to build the cat and do the needful. So those are the issues I think becomes important when we are talking about climate change. So when we talk about climate change, the main factors that we normally the scientists ascribe to are greenhouse gases, which include carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, methane, then changes in the temperature, then sea level rise, then ocean heat and acidification, then ice and glacier. So when President Donald Trump was there in the office, he called it a climate change a hoax. He said it's a hoax. So he almost withdrew all the financial options from climate change talks, and USA was almost about to go out of this thing. So luckily or unluckily he changed, and then things have again started to come into normal as far as USA is concerned. So whether it's happening, yes, methane 262%, nitrous oxide 124%. The ocean heat is also, that's measured into layers. One is 0 to 700 meters and then up to 2000 meters. And in both the parameters, the ocean heat is also being recorded at the record level now. Similarly, when we see about the mean sea level, from 1993 to 2002, the rise was about 2.2 millimeters per year, and in the next decade, next decade, that is 2013 to 2022, now this is 4.62 millimeters per year. And in the morning, we had a speaker talking about the entire country being submerged. So that kind of scenario is there. So definitely this points to the factors